From each happily ever after, every wish upon a star. Let's break down the movies that shaped who we are. From memory lane to now and everything in between. The most famous of films to the ones we've never seen. Decade by decade, all the times we laughed and cried. And with a little pixie dust, they will all take flight. Reliving the feelings, and we're trying our very best. And if they mean the same to you, please be our guest. So hop aboard, we would love to have you as we hang with a certain mouth, the whole gang too. If you love nostalgia stuff, we hope this does the trick. Thanks for joining us as we deep dive the magic.
Hi, and welcome back to the Deep Diving the Magic podcast. I'm KJ.
And I'm Jeffrey. And we have made it to the 22nd film. A film that, as we mentioned in our last episode, is a little bit different than anything that we've done so far. We do have a few of these coming up, though. So this is the first of a little bit of a trend that we're going to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
But this film, released on November 10th, 1953, is the 22nd feature-length Disney film, and that is called The Living Desert. Now, I have a good handful of facts about this, but before we start, you all right over there?
Yeah. I'm just, every time we say living desert, I'm going to have to stop myself from thinking the living dead.
Oh,
Sorry.
I mean, it's a good start.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense though, if you think about it.
I guess it
So-
makes sense.
It is called The Living Desert.
Mm-hmm.
I do have some facts about it, but before we dive into it, would you like to go ahead with a quick synopsis?
Sure. Although first glance reveals little more than stones and sand, the desert is alive. Witness moving rocks, spitting mud pots. I don't know why it says mud pots. I would say puddles, but gorgeous flowers and the never-ending battle for survival between creatures of every shape, size, and description.
It's true. So even though this was the 8th installment of Disney's True Life Adventure series, this was the first of the feature-length film length. Even though it is barely over an hour, it does qualify as a feature film. And this was actually the first Disney film released by Buena Vista Pictures Distribution, which is now known as Walt Disney Studios Motion Pictures. It was filmed in Tucson, Arizona, and it was originally paired with a short film called Ben and Me, which was an animated short about Ben Franklin and his friend Amos the Mouse, which I watched. I found it online and it was cute. I don't know if you watched it while I was watching it, but it was originally paired with this
I think I've seen like bits and pieces of
when
it.
it was released.
Mhm.
Something I thought was actually the last couple of notes I'll have here before we dive into it. Something I thought was interesting was this film was so popular in Japan that it passed Gone with the Wind as the highest grossing film of all time.
I don't know what you want me to say about that. I just
Um,
Japan.
so it did win an Academy Award.
Oh, Academy Award.
I mean, I can understand how it won I'm
It did. It was okay.
yeah, but it was also like you know what I mean? Like it was groundbreaking.
It was for that time. I guess I could see that.
So go ahead and kick us off.
So unlike Jeffrey, I kept thinking this looks familiar. I have seen this at some point in my life because it was all just way too familiar. I kind of knew what was going to happen before it would happen when I started seeing a certain scene like multiple times. So I must.
Can I pause you for a second?
Yes.
There's been 2 films that you've seen so far that you haven't seen that I haven't seen. Fantasia and this. So if we're
Yeah.
running a trend here or anything. So.
Well, I did not rate this as high as I did Fantasia.
Go ahead.
So I'm assuming I must have watched this in school.
Yeah, but you also used to like watch animal films
I would have not,
for the animals for Faye and Winston.
yeah, I mean, Winston loves Big Cat Diaries. He has since he was a kitten. When we haven't watched that in a while, but and when I had my wisdom teeth out several years ago, I did lay in the bed with Faye and watch some kind of
Animal documentary.
yeah, documentaries. I don't know. I find it comforting. But I can tell you I would have not watched this one on my own. I may have started it, but I definitely would have not made it to the end on my own. So I'm pretty sure I watched it in school. I don't know if it was maybe for a science class, maybe like Earth Environmental Science. No idea. No idea when I watched it, but I definitely remember watching it.
So,
Um,
what do you got for a couple scenes and stuff? What do you got?
so um something that like I guess is interesting about deserts is they said that the desert is the barren flood of an ancient ocean. So it's pretty much just a dried up floor, ocean floor
Yeah. Um,
that was just left after a drought, I guess.
it's definitely
And they showed like scenes of Death Valley and discussed like why it's called Death Valley because it's
Tucson,
I mean, you really things have had to have adapted to live there and survive.
It so it does start off with like a painting of a globe and a
Yeah.
narration, and then there's some real life scenes and some
Mixed
slight
in with some,
animation.
yeah, with some paintbrushes
Yeah.
like we've had in one or two other films, I think.
So you did mention in one of your synopsis that there is this weird scene with popping mud,
Yeah.
and it has some very Fantasia-esque music to it.
Oh yeah.
Anything on that scene?
Um, After a while, I kind of just thought it was disgusting, and I was like, I wish they would stop showing us this
So speaking of
because
disgusting,
I felt like it went on
well,
way
speaking
too
of
long.
disgusting and things that went on so much,
Yeah.
um, there was far too many scenes with snakes in this movie. Far too many
And
scenes,
bugs.
and yes, snakes and bugs.
If you don't
Um,
like snakes or bugs, don't watch this. This is not for you.
I think you have a visitor coming your way here in a second.
No.
Um, the princess herself who wants to be our wild animal here. So what I had originally wrote here was that if if I uh, if I hadn't already broken um if I hadn't already broken my streak about rainfall, I thought that this film would have broken it because of the rain, but it actually does. It storms later on in the movie.
It does.
Yeah, it storms a lot at the end. Um,
There you go.
it storms a lot at the end, but we did learn that tortoises court each other and
Yeah.
then fight with their mates and knock them on their backs. What do you gotta say about that?
All I could think about was the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and how they talk about when they flip over on their shell, they can't shake it.
Yeah, it was like sad, like they're like
Yeah.
on their backs,
And
like
then it did say like if the tortoise cannot flip itself back over, that it will pretty much die of heat stroke.
yeah.
Which is interesting on its own. And they also make their own water,
Oh yeah,
in their shells. So that's pretty cool. I'm sure my cousin would know about this because I'm pretty sure she has a big tortoise.
yeah. Well,
She
we'll have to ask her.
she should write about it and tell us about it. Um, there was a scene where you go through Monument Valley, and I told you that I was pretty sure they used like that area during Soarin' at
Oh yeah.
Disney World if you ride on there because that looked familiar. I didn't know it specifically had a name, but I guess it does, Monument Valley.
Something that I wrote a couple times is that these camera people are just watching these animals get eaten and die and are okay with it. Like they're just filming.
Part of nature. I guess if you're a documentary
And then
filmographer or whatever,
I also want to know if any of these camera people were injured at all by these animals.
probably not. Probably not. Um, One of the things that I thought was cool, they discussed Phantom Lakes, where, and I guess I never really knew that that had a name, but so like You know when it gets really hot and you're like in a parking lot with asphalt and you're looking far across the parking lot, sometimes it'll look like there's
Like a
like
mirage
wavy
or
things
something,
moving.
yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's what they call phantom lakes. So I did have a light bulb moment of when I was watching this and like, oh, so when they talk about like people in like the desert and stuff, like seeing mirages of water, that's what they're seeing. Like they're just so they're trying to get to this phantom lake that doesn't exist because they thought they saw it, but they don't.
Yeah. There is a scene that looks like the animals are dancing to
Yep.
some very Fort Wilderness bus loop-esque music.
Yep.
Um, and there's a lot of ants, like you said.
Reptiles, snakes,
Yeah.
lizards.
Birds.
There was some
Birds
kind of
attacking snakes.
a Gila monster is in there. Fun fact, that is in some diabetic injectable medication. Their venom. I don't know if I told you that or not.
No.
When we were watching it, because I was like, fun fact, that's actually
So,
in medication.
um, there was more snakes. There was more animals that I'm not a big fan of. Do you have any more notes on anything? There was a roadrunner.
And there was a Roadrunner, and they talked about how the Roadrunner it has wings, but it refuses to use them, so it just runs everywhere.
Mhm.
Um, then it kind of went into a scene where it was kind of like talking about I don't know, the courting rituals of all the other animals or whatever. And I thought it was funny because it was like the tarantula swooned, square dancing scorpions, and it was like a long square dancing scorpion music scene. And beetles with beautiful mandibles.
Gross.
Yeah,
Um, got anything else? Because I don't
the
have any more
courting
notes.
rituals
I
and
don't
all
have any
that.
more notes about the animals.
I felt bad because well, I guess not really. The the beetle had to fight off another beetle for his mate, and he did not win. Um, and then several other animals after this because he's kind of like obviously tired because he just gave it his all trying to win over this female. And several other animals try to eat him, but apparently this specific beetle has like I think they said an odor or something that it emits that certain creatures will not want to eat it. Um, and then, but it doesn't work on the tarantula. And then it runs into the tarantula at the end. And unfortunately for the tarantula, it has those beautiful mandibles, so it pinches the tarantula and actually makes a getaway for it. So that was kind of cool. Um, then there's a scene with kangaroo rats, and I thought they were kind of cute.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, got their name because of their little back legs and how they kind of like hop around. Um, they had this one cute little one called I think they called him Skinny, didn't they?
I don't remember that.
Skinny. So Skinny wanted to be part of the kangaroo rats and to hang out with them. No, sorry, that was a ground squirrel named Skinny. Um, anyway, ground squirrels were cute. Kangaroos, rats, mouse, whatever, rats were cute. Um, talked about the different predators in the desert. The kangaroo rat had a snake come find it, and it took off running back to its den where it had left the babies because it was a mom
Oh,
trying to
yeah,
go
that's
get um
Mm-hmm.
food, obviously, to feed her and her babies. And she ran back, but the snake can obviously smell her, so it's tracking her by smell. So it goes to her den. But luckily, I guess kangaroo rats have a backup den. So she had ran straight to the nest and had started like grabbing the babies and moving them over to the other den, which in my mind I was thinking, okay, well, if it can smell you going out the back door of your den to the second den, how's it not going to find you in that den? But um I forgot what other animal. There was another animal that I guess like intervened or whatever, and the snake ended up leaving. So the kangaroo,
Birds. I mean, the birds were attacking snakes.
maybe it was a hawk.
Yeah.
Maybe it was a hawk, I think. Um there was a sidewinder snake that apparently lives in this part of the desert because not the other snakes, because of the way they move, they can't get around in certain areas like the sidewinder can because of how it obviously moves sideways, which it leaves these weird patterns in the sand. Speaking of weird patterns in the sand, there was a portion in here where they talked about giant rocks that move. Because you can see the paths of the rocks, but nobody has ever seen the rocks move. So it's people are just unsure of like how they move. So it's like, is the wind moving them? Uh, aliens? Who knows? Moving them.
Ancient aliens.
Yeah.
Um,
Where's the guy with the hair?
yeah.
Our guest speaker will be here in just a moment. I'm just kidding.
So the end of the film.
Oh, hang
Oh,
on.
go ahead.
You forgot the tarantula and
Of
the
course I did.
tarantula wasp. So there is a wasp called the tarantula wasp, and it basically its goal to continue on, and you're gonna die laughing soon. So its goal to continue on with populating the world of its species is it will attack a tarantula. So the female will attack the tarantula and inject it with a poison that basically or it paralyzes the tarantula. So it doesn't kill it, it just paralyzes the tarantula. So you see this epic battle.
Kind of like the Evil Queen's apple.
Yes, kind of. But totally different outcome. So you see this epic battle going on between the tarantula, that I'm assuming knows that, oh, this is not good. And because this wasp literally keeps going into all these little dens, hoping that it finds a tarantula den. And at one point gets attacked by a bunch of ants, but does manage to get free. Finds a tarantula den. The tarantula comes out, and then, like I said, you see this epic battle. And then the wasp stings the tarantula multiple times to where it's finally paralyzed, and is way less lazy than like I am, because I would have been like, hey, tarantula den, I'm just gonna drag you back down there and put my nest here. But no, this wasp drags the tarantula back to its own little den and lays one egg.
Oh, that's right. It was one. It was just one
One
egg.
egg. And once this egg hatches, it will eat the tarantula. And then
Gross.
one day it will repeat the whole cycle. One egg.
Mhm.
An epic battle for your life to lay one egg. Talk about putting all your eggs in one basket or spider.
I mean, and once upon a time, they
One egg.
have a huge sword fight over one child.
One egg.
Yeah. So then that was the end of the film.
Mm-hmm.
It starts to pour and it
Yeah.
floods and floods and floods and
Oh.
floods and floods.
We forgot something else.
And then the whole process starts over. What did I forget?
You forgot the so there was these like I don't know, they weren't really like warthogs, but like wild hogs. That kind of look like Pumbaa. And a bobcat attacked them, and then unfortunately for the bobcat, they attacked back because they're one of the most dangerous
Yeah.
animals in the desert, I guess. I did not know they lived in the desert, but they chased this bobcat up a cactus.
That's right. And he ran up to the top of the cactus.
Mm-hmm. And the first cactus he ended up in, he kept trying to climb up, which I thought, I don't know why you keep trying to go up if you see that they're not trying to get you, and the top doesn't look that sturdy to me, buddy. And the top snaps off and he falls down, and then they start chasing him again. But he does, you'll be happy to know, find another cactus, and he finds his way up to the top and then just sits there on the very top of the cactus. And then you kind of feel sorry for him, because then you see him, like, I guess, pulling out the little stickers from the cactus, because there's no trees in the desert, there's only cacti.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So it rains at the end, floods,
Yeah.
and the whole process starts over. And that's the film. This film was selected for preservation in the United States Film Registry by the Library of Congress for being culturally, historically, and aesthetically significant.
Yeah.
It was definitely impressive. I just I
Yeah.
like animals. I like animals a lot. I like riding the safari. I'm not the world's biggest fan of snakes and spiders and
Yeah.
bugs and stuff like that,
It
but
did have its good points and interesting tidbits. Like, if you're on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, remember it's one egg.
I mean, I'll talk to you about weird tidbits. I don't know why there was random parts with random music at some points, like
Yeah.
doing a hoedown, but
Then it talked about how like there's hardly ever any rain, but when it does rain, it was like it floods areas.
huge
So
amounts.
then, but then
Kind of like
just
what we're getting
just
here
like
this
the rain comes out of nowhere, it also dries up super quick. And then you
like you're
see,
at Walt Disney World.
yeah, and then towards the end, obviously after the rain and stuff, you see the cacti blooming, and it's very pretty.
Mhm.
But it reminded me of Fantasia.
Just like the music did in the beginning.
Ironic that I also saw this one and you didn't, but it
So,
reminded me of Fantasia with the cacti blooming.
perfect segue. What did you rate this?
I rated it a 5 out of 10.
Okay.
IMDb rated it a 7.4
I
out of
can
10.
see how IMDb rated it that high.
Yeah.
I hate that they rated it higher than Peter Pan, but that's on them. So tell me about this List Upon a Star over here.
So once again, my list upon a star is not changing. I'm not gonna add this on there. I
Yeah.
felt like I just relived some moment of my schooling back in the day. Not sure what class I watched this in, but if you are one of my teachers from when I was younger, and I watched this in your class, please comment. I would like to know what class I watched it in.
Deep
'Cause,
diving the Magic Pot at Gmail.
yeah, I definitely had deja vu watching this multiple times. So definitely let me know. But yeah, my list upon a star is not changing. So I have Dumbo at the top, followed by Three Caballeros with Peter Pan, Alice in Wonderland, Fantasia, Saludos Amigos, The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad, Bambi, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and Cinderella.
And my number one is Peter Pan. My number two is Alice in Wonderland. Three, Pinocchio. Then followed by Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, The Three Caballeros, Cinderella, Dumbo, Bambi, and Fun and Fancy Free. Well, we learned about animals.
We learned about animals and we made it.
We made
We
it.
made it through another.
Speaking of making it, we made it for the next film. We made it to the year 1954.
Ooh.
So we're making it to another year, but we're gonna see a lot of familiar faces. A lot of familiar faces from a previous movie that we just watched. We will be watching another live action movie called Rob Roy, the Highland Rogue. We'll see you then.
Thanks for deep diving the magic. Bye.